Sometimes you wake up and see headlines that feel heavy even before your morning coffee. A leader dismissed, questions swirling, people on both sides holding their breath. Today, we face one of those moments, when the President has fired the Secretary of Homeland Security and named a new one to step in at once. It is easy to think such changes only matter to politicians in distant offices, but I have learned, over a lifetime, such moments soon wind their way to every town and home. Picture a quiet living room on a side street somewhere in Minnesota as the morning news flickers on. The family sits, uncertain. Are they safer now than yesterday, or less free? The Republic can be saved, but not if its people stop caring about changes like this. Let us set the table, as plainly as a table set for Sunday supper. President Trump has removed Secretary Kristi Noem from her post at Homeland Security. He has nominated Senator Markwayne Mullin of Oklahoma to be her replacement, a friend to his cause, loyal and steady, now awaiting Senate confirmation. Noem, for her part, is not leaving altogether. She is to serve next as Special Envoy for something called the Shield of the Americas. There is talk everywhere. Was she removed because she failed, or simply as a changing of the guard? Is her new role a prize or a gentle way to step aside? But what is lost when power changes hands this way? That answer takes us deeper than any press release can go. Secretary Noem's time at DHS burned bright and hot. She led a vast campaign to deport over 600,000 people, the highest number in a single year. Towns and cities watched as agents swept through, families divided, workers removed. Some cheered, believing this brought security. Others feared, asking, "If they come for my neighbor today, might I be next tomorrow?" Bipartisan voices in Congress rose, not always for the same reason. There was criticism that in her zeal, civil rights were bent or broken. There was sorrow over a hard day in Minneapolis, an operation leaving 2 U.S. citizens dead, under circumstances still not laid to rest. The Inspector General, the eye of oversight, charged that her office had blocked questions, kept investigators out, hid more than was wise or lawful. Personnel changes swept DHS. Not just commanders, but key deputies, and even the ones meant to explain its actions to the public. Should we be surprised when those beneath the top follow the path blazed from above? Or is there something about authority that tempts even the best to go astray, if not sternly watched? Senator Mullin steps forward now, jacket bearing the dust of Oklahoma, past votes lined up behind the president's banner. He is praised for loyalty to the America First vision, meaning hard lines at the border, strength in hand, and caution toward distant threats. But the camera holds on the Senate floor, lawmakers from both sides pausing, not to block perhaps, but to weigh his record. Does he truly have the wisdom to manage lawmen and agents who carry both power and risk in their badges? Outside, in a quiet city park, a man walks his daughter on a spring morning. He glances at his phone, reading another headline about disaster response, terrorism, or deportation. He wonders to himself, will the new man in charge have the instincts to protect his family, but also their freedoms? Is it ever possible to keep both safe and free? Let us hold that thought before we answer. Escalating tension is the steady measure of this hour. On the one hand, leaders say, to guard the country well, you must act decisively. On the other, justice waits for no man and excuses none. If your government's hand grows too heavy, order becomes the master, liberty the servant. But if it grows too weak, chaos gains a foothold, safety itself surrenders. This balance is not new. Recall, if you will, the old days in a small-town courthouse. Judges in black robes, citizens in wooden pews, all knowing that if law tilted too far to one side, trust would shatter. When the rules of justice were clear and review was open, neighbors left the room in peace, even if the verdict did not go their way. Today the questions are louder, more tangled. We wonder, with each shift in leadership, what side of that old scale grows heavier. Congress wants answers about lives lost and rights protected. Inspectors seek open doors, find instead closed ones. And you perhaps look out your front window at dusk, porch light glowing, and ask, which shield do I want? The one made of unyielding steel, or the one stitched from fair rules and honest review? What happens if overseers find walls instead of doors? If we do not answer this, time and again, we risk losing what we most wish to keep. Sometimes the doors are closed out of fear, or pride, or the mistaken belief that authority alone is the same as wisdom. But power without sunlight grows tangled, like a garden left untended. Once mistrust takes root, it shadows every decision that follows. Picture a county courthouse at sunset. The marble steps are empty, save for a janitor pushing a broom. Inside, there are stacks of folders behind locked doors, cases half resolved, questions half answered. It is that very feeling, a missing answer, a door not quite open that keeps a town from sleeping easy. Now some will say, we must keep secrets, else our enemies will steal a march. That has sense. Yet if we raise every wall so high that our own countrymen know less than our foes, we have not gained safety. We have given up self-rule. What is hard to see is that every guard posted against outside threat can, if unchecked, become a barrier to our own freedom. Think of the Inspector General. His job, appointed, not crowned, is to look in dark corners and bring proof to the people. But if his work is blocked, if files are sealed and questions go unanswered, then who is left to speak for the silent or protect the rule of law from those most tempted to bend it? Let me ask, if a department keeps shifting its leadership, its deputies, its very press officers, do the facts stand a chance? Or does confusion become cover for mistakes no citizen ever signed up for? This is not just a question for one moment or one party. It is the question of whether our public servants see themselves as stewards or as masters. Picture a school assembly in a small town. Flags line the walls, and students listen in hushed surprise as a guest explains what makes democracy different. We change leaders with votes, she says, not violence. But in the corner stands a social studies teacher, concerned. Who shapes the truth if only a few hold all the answers? Who holds the guardians accountable? A republic built on oversight needs more than a change of names. It depends on the faith that mistakes, yes, even grave ones, can see the light and serve a higher good, making us safer tomorrow without making us less free today. Even now, some may protest. They may ask, does boldness not win the peace? Is this not a time for action, not second-guessing? Action is needed, but never action untethered from review. The Republic does not lose the sharpness of her sword by letting the people examine its edge. Remember this. In every era, there have been voices who counsel silence in the name of expedience. Those voices grow loudest, not when we are weak, but when we are strongest and least willing to be questioned. But these are precisely the hours when oversight must be bold and steady and stubborn as a mule. Because when the world is told to trust, but cannot see, trust withers. Imagine a city street after dark. A police car idles at the curb, its lights off. Down the block, a mother watches from her window, holding her breath. She hopes she has nothing to fear, but she cannot know. That space between hope and certainty, that's where lawfulness must live. Who bridges that gap, if not the checks and balances laid by our founders? When Congress demands answers, when inspectors ask to enter, when the public says, explain, show your work, it is not for the sake of pride or to embarrass a leader. It is to remind every office holder that power must travel under the gaze of the many, not the few. There is a habit in strong men to mistake criticism for disloyalty. But a republic does not need flatterers. It needs citizens and leaders, alike, willing to endure the discomfort of being questioned. It is in this moment, when criticism stings and review feels like distrust, that real leadership proves its worth. Think of a volunteer firefighter, helmet under his arm, explaining to the town council how a fire was fought. Here's what went well, he says. Here's what we missed. Only with honesty like this can any service become better, more just, more fit for the next season. So it must be, even when the stakes are life and death. Especially then. The time has come when each of us, in whatever office we hold or vote we cast, must ask, is loyalty to a person more sacred than loyalty to the principle? Shall we allow sudden changes and hidden reasons to pass without question? Or shall we insist quietly but firmly that no hand is above the law and that the people are never meant to be shut out? Some will say this is naive, that too much sunlight weakens the state. This is not so. Sunlight is what makes the tree grow straight. Only the crooked tree fears the dawn. You may worry that all this asking, this reviewing, this doubting will paralyze the protections our country needs. The answer is found not in choosing between strength and oversight, but in holding to both. That is the balance, not one for the comfort of rulers, but for the dignity of the ruled. Imagine a warehouse at first light, workers waiting for the new shift boss to arrive. They talk in low voices, wondering if the rules will change, if pay will hold steady, if their work will be honored. It is trust that makes the day go smoothly, not fear of the new boss. Our government is a workplace too, vast and varied, whose citizens must trust the ones above them if they are to give their best. So when you next read a headline of changes at the top, of firings, appointments, surprises at every turn, remember the country is not changed by names on a door, but by the health of its habits. The Republic draws its real strength from steady eyes, open books, and the long patience of a people who know their rights and demand their leaders respect them. As this new secretary stands to take the oath, let us judge not by slogans or sudden shifts, but by a return to the first principles, honesty, accountability, and the never-ending watchfulness of the people. Let every officer know, he holds not a throne, but a borrowed task, answerable always to high office and finally to plain men and women who trusted him. America's strength is her unity. Never mistake noise for progress or suddenness for vigor. True progress shows itself in the sunlight, under review, through law, and held in trust by the governed. This is how the Republic can be saved. But as always, the last question is not for leaders, it is for each citizen. In moments of change, will you demand sunlight and steady review, or will you let quiet doors and easy headlines decide the matters for you? What kind of country will you help us build when the next change comes around?